How's it going, everybody? Victor the Crocodile here from Team Chaotix. And today, I will be reading you all Chapter 3 of The Walking Dead Hope, which is a Walking Dead fanfiction written by Goofy Gomez from Wattpad. Now, this was narrated by the Shadow Lioness, who is about to finish up this fanfiction. Goofy Gomez, if you're watching this, thank you very much for giving us permission to read your story. Now, this is a love story between Louis and Clementine from the series Walking Dead. I wonder how this will go down. That's what we're about to find out. Now, without further ado, let's get reading. Do you really think they'll take us? AJ caught up to Clementine, his voice expectant, as he took her hand and looked up at her. They'd been walking for 9 hours, blisters forming on their soles of their feet. The sun in the warm spring morning was beginning to take its toll on them. Oh, excuse me. I hope so, kiddo, she said, offering him a comforting smile. Last time I saw him, Javi said I could go back to Richmond if I wanted. I just never had the chance, she mused. Relax, little dude, Louis said from his right, adjusting his grip on his chair leg. They wouldn't turn down this pretty face. I would, commented Violet from behind them, passing them and giving AJ a small wink. The boy laughed, glancing back at Louis. A soft, welcoming breeze picked up from the north, leaves rustling overhead. They kept walking forward, Louis whistling a tune to break the silence. The scenery of the forest didn't change much as they forgive me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, covering as much ground as they could before sundown. The trees winded in odd patterns, creating a path for them to follow. Over the past 2 days, Clementine had studied the map and its dimensions, gathering the supplies necessary for their journey. She estimated that they could reach Richmond in 2 days on foot, and they'd already been at it for half of the first. They passed an old broken-down car, crashed against an old oak. Its hood had compressed in on itself, the engine having crushed whoever had been driving. Louis heard a loud growl coming from the front and noticed a walker trapped in the passenger seat by its safety belt. Its forehead was split open, dried blood covering most of its face. Clementine and AJ went around the car, inspecting the trunk and leaving Louis to deal with the walker and Violet to keep guard. He took out a knife and plunged it deep into its skull, a sickening crunch erupting from the bone. You never get used to it, huh? Violet commented from behind him, noticing his expression. Louis chuckled, cleaning the walker's blood off of his jeans. Nope, he muttered, searching the body for anything useful. Unfortunately, there was nothing more than a single shotgun shell tucked in his breast pocket. Any chance you guys found a shotgun back in there? He called to Clementine. I wish, Clementine called back, stepping over to him and handing him a crowbar. We found this, though. This could spin a few walkers' heads with this, he mused, turning it in his hands. How about you keep it, Charles? How about you keep it? Charles keeps me safe, though. I wouldn't just slow me down, she said, setting the metal bar on the hood of the car. Plus, I think the knife is more effective, she added, brandishing her own. All right, Louis muttered hesitantly, eyeing the hunting knife in her hand. Birds chirped overhead as they continued their journey. Clementine walked beside Violet while Louis kept entertaining AJ with jokes. The blonde gave Clem a sideways glance, searching her features. Are you holding up, Clem? She asked, fidgeting with her hatchet absently. Around them, flowers had already started blossoming in the wake of spring. Red, yellow, and blue petals filled the forest with vibrant colors. "I'm fine," she muttered, her gaze somewhere far away. The sunlight hitting her eyes made them seem like they were made of molten gold. Violet noticed. "Clem, you can't kid me." "Clem, you can't fool me," Violet told her, putting a hand on the other woman's shoulder. "I know when there's something on your mind." Sighing, Clem looked at Vi and pursed her lips. "I'm just thinking about this whole situation," she explained, her right hand protectively covering her stomach. "How could we have been so stupid? I've asked myself that same thing since you guys started dating," Violet teased, making Clementine chuckle throatily. "You had a lot to drink. It was your wedding. Those things happen," she said, shrugging. "I guess they do," she conceded. "We were a little crazy that night," Clem added cheekily. "Atta girl," Violet said, playfully slapping Clem's shoulder. "Who knew you had it in you?" "Hey," the woman exclaimed, chuckling. "I can be wild." "Sure you can," Violet said. And they came across a narrow road, which Clem remembered had been depicted on the map. The sign on the side read Richmond, 40 miles. "I think we're close," Louis called back, his hands on his hips. He looked up at the sky where the sun was already inching closer to the horizon. "You reckon we should bunk down?" Clementine examined their surroundings. The road itself was far too open, too exposed for them to set up camp. The edge of the forest could be a valuable choice, she thought, but they would need to have at least 2 people on guard at all times to keep an eye on the trees and the road. Plus, the gravel on the side of the asphalt was too shallow to dig the nails for the tent. "I'm out there," AJ's voice broke through her thoughts. She followed his finger and saw a gas station at least 2 miles down the road. "Good job, little dude," Louis encouraged, offering AJ a high five. "I guess we have our 5-star room waiting for us," he said to the group, beginning their walk toward the station. The gas station itself was pretty small, consisting mainly of 3 pumps and a small convenience store. A rustled car lay upside down near one of the pumps, a decaying corpse sticking out of the windshield. While Violet and AJ stayed outside as lookouts, the Clementine and Louis walked into the store, the weapons at ready. "Keep your eyes peeled," she told him, checking behind the counter and finding nothing of interest. "Yes, ma'am," Louis replied. As he searched the aisles, Clementine noticed a gray door to the side of the counter. A sign over it read, only authorized personnel in red, and a small window on the door was cracked. Of course it was locked. Raising an eyebrow, Clementine looked back. Her husband was still intently looking into every nook and cranny, determined to find AJ some type of snack he promised earlier. She turned back to the door, taking out her knife and sticking the tip in between the frame and the lock. With a grunt, Clementine pulled on it, hearing a distinctive click of the lock breaking. Silently, she pushed the door open. She pushed the door forward, peering in. The room beyond was pitch dark, the only source of light being the store from which she came. Squinting, she held her knife out in front of her, her left hand hovering close to her abdomen. She took 2 hesitant steps, her eyes darting from the tip of her knife to the room beyond. A dripping noise sounded from her right, eerily regular. She took another tentative step, grimacing with a crunch. The crunch sound erupted from beneath her boot. Cursing under her breath, she slowly kneeled down. Clementine strained her eyes, reaching out with her hand. Her fingers grazed a plastic bag on the floor. and they wrapped around it. As she stood back up, she heard a soft growl from the darkness, but not fast enough. Before she could even react, her back had hit the floor with a thud, knocking the air out of her lungs. She raised her right arm, the hunting knife held in her hand. Clementine attempted to plunge it into the walker's skull, but its icy cold hand managed to slap it out of her grasp. The knife fell onto the ground with a thud. The full weight of the corpse fell on her, pinning her on the spot. And this is where we'll stop for part 1. Stay tuned for part 2 of Vector and the Crocodile reads Chapter 3 of The Walking Dead. Oh,